I just want to say a couple of brief things and announce our special guest. You didn't come here to hear me. First thing, I want to talk a little bit about the events of this week. I think it's interesting to point out that we didn't seek any of these girls out. And of the 4 who so far have stepped forth, 2 of them were let go a week or 2 ago. 1 was let go a month ago, and another one quit several years ago. And they're all saying the same thing. And what that does is that gives credibility, because we have a timeline here. We've got a person who doesn't know any of the other girls saying the same thing. Okay? So not only is this going on now, but it's been ongoing. And basically what it comes down to is abortionists think they're above the law. Okay, they say abortion, or they think abortion is a sacrament, I'm the priest, and we say everything, and nobody else has a say. Right? So we're not here, like I had CNN was asking me today, but you people have a history of law breaking. No, we don't. And they obey the law. And I says, well, if they obey, meaning the pro-aborts, if they believe in the law, why aren't they behind us asking for an investigation?
That's right.
Because the law breaking's going on inside, and that's where the story is. The story isn't a handful of pro-aborts in front of the abortion clinic. How that came about is when Leroy Carhart got wind of what was going on, he wanted to change the subject. He wanted the issue to be, they're going to come shoot me, all these people. So all week I'm at the abortion mill, and we've got 5 federal marshals. Okay? And, Carhart says he's afraid for his life, he needs these marshals. What I say is, Al Capone felt he needed bodyguards too. But he paid for his. Okay? Leroy's bodyguards are paid for by us. And then the police decide they're going to, that there's going to be, I don't know, the pro-life equivalent to the Chicago riots. Okay? So, they never contacted us. And I have the captain making all the statements. He drives by me every day on his way to work. Couldn't he just pull over and say, hey Larry, I hear you're having an event. What do you have planned? They don't say a word from us. They take all their cues from the abortion clinic. They're afraid there's going to be violence. Never mind our 20-year history of peaceful and prayerful activity. And I spoke to the police and I said, listen, if we were going to have something like that, the first thing we would do is contact you. For 2 very good reasons. Number 1, if you're going to have hundreds of people, you need a parade permit. If we don't have a parade permit, he comes down and says, okay, you all leave, or you go to jail. And we don't have a choice. So they've got a legal way of just wrecking the event. Why would I invite people from all over the country to come to an event that the police are going to chase everybody away from? Of course, the second reason is because of our safety. There's traffic problems. We have this, every year, we have the rosary procession down Mission Avenue. What's the first thing we do? Go to the police. We say, we want to do this on this day. Would you send a few officers down to help keep us, direct traffic? Because it's kind of hard when you got 300-400 people crossing the street. They're glad to do it. We've done this for years. So that would be the first thing we did. But see, they really didn't want to do that. They didn't want to talk to us. It's a slap in the face, but the whole idea here, as I said, is to change the subject. Because we have got something here so explosive that all the abortion industry can do is run for cover. And the cover they always run for is these violent people, meaning us. But we know where the real violence is. The real violence is behind closed doors against victims that no one sees. And that's the violence. And that's what we stand for. Now, isn't it interesting? First of all, I didn't contact any of these gals that quit in the last few months, even years. Okay? They contacted us. Now, we're the bad guys. Why didn't they go to now and say, listen, we've been fired, we need jobs, we don't know what to do, can you help us? If they're so wonderful and we're so bad, why didn't they do that? Every day that those workers come to that abortion mill for years, what do we say to them? You gotta find another job. This is horrible, we'll help you find another job, but you gotta quit. They hear this every day. every day. Starts to sink in a little bit. So when the one gal gets fired up, of course I'm not giving any names, and you know, press really got honest today about that. They think it's terrible. These girls want to remain anonymous. You know, but I say, we're respecting their privacy, why can't you? You're the people that worship privacy, but when it comes to somebody that's got a tale to tell, that isn't their tale, suddenly none of those rules apply. So they think that there's no credibility here because these gals don't want to give the press their names. But I'll tell you something, you know, an NOW doesn't matter. We pray for their souls, but it doesn't matter. What the press says doesn't matter. We're going before the Attorney General with very, very compelling evidence that this place should be shut down and Carhart should be out of business. And that's what we strive to do, and we're going to keep it on. And we're doing everything legal, everything within the law. I guess that's redundant. We're their worst nightmare, okay? And I used to say, they don't fear God, so let them fear us. But you know what I say now? We fear God, and that's why they fear us. It's a little more accurate. And just briefly, and I'll tell you about Troy and Cheryl. You may notice these signs behind me. Remember Christin? I have probably not enough for everybody in the room. I apologize. I do have some brochures that people can read that story. If there's anything that would break your heart, that would be it. That was a young girl with Down syndrome in Wichita whose parents, ashamed that she got pregnant. I want to tell you something. When a person who is mentally disabled is impregnated, that's rape. It really doesn't matter how old they are, because they're not in their right mind to understand an intimate relationship. There's no questions asked. She's brought in a healthy girl, young girl, was she 19, Cheryl or Troy?
Yes,
19 years old, brought in by her parents, 30 weeks pregnant, and Leroy Carhart killed them both. Okay, there's a grand jury investigation in Wichita. Leroy Carhart is subpoenaed. Leroy Carhart doesn't show up. Now let me ask you, anybody in the room, if you ignore a grand jury subpoena, what do you think is going to happen to you?
Jail.
You're going to be in jail. They ignored it. No wonder Leroy Carhart thinks he's above the law. He is above the law. But we say those days are ending. Okay, so that's the story of Christin. I first met Troy Newman about 11 years ago. I think it was 97, coincidentally at the Supreme Court hearings on the Nebraska partial birth bill during the testimonies of Leroy Carhart. So you see, Leroy Carhart has kind of brought us together. We have something to thank him for, Troy. And Troy since then has become not only my mentor, but my friend, my dear friend. He has much to tell us. He knows a lot about Carhart and experiences in Wichita because they did a tremendous amount of investigation. That's one of the reasons we had him up. I want to learn what these guys, how these guys do what they do. You know, everything legal. You know, as he says, you know, the pro-life movement is, you know, picketing's important. All those prayer services, of course, they're prayers first. But you know, that's not where the pro-life movement ends. And Troy and Cheryl have mastered the art of research and investigation. I think this is the underbelly, the Achilles heel of the abortion industry. So my hat's off to Cheryl and Troy. And do I introduce you both at the same time, or? It's kind of silly introducing somebody like this.
I just wanted to tell people a couple.
Okay, sorry, I'm supposed to introduce Ann.
Oh. I forgot to tell people that if you need to use the facilities, they're out the door.